Hi there and welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today I'll be walking you through your 2024 Sportsman Se 251 RSE. We are just going to start off the back of the unit. If you do notice, you are pre-wired and pre-mounted for your Furrion rear observation camera. If you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact your parts department and we'll put together a quote for you. Other than that, you got your spare tire, as well as your cable satellite inlet, and then located inside this rear bumper here is where we keep that sewer hose. Once fully extended, it is about 20 feet long. Just take a note of those two ears there. It's going to be the same ears that hook up to your sewer hose system, which I'll show you in a minute. And then located in the back left corner, as well as all four corners of the unit, you got your stabilizer jacks. So the way those works is you're going to hook up the 3/4 inch drive tool, run this foot down to the ground. Once that foot contacts the ground, just giving another 1/8 to quarter turn just to snug it up. You're going to take any bounce or sway you see behind you have in the unit right now away. And nowadays with modern technology, you can use an impact to run this down. Just being very mindful of when you are running this down, how much torque you're putting on it with that impact, because you do run the risk of bending your leg. By doing so, we include the manual tool inside the front compartment, which I'll show you in a few minutes once we get there. And then you got your standard 50 amp plug in. Most campsites should have this, so you can plug right on in. You're just taking note of that silver strip there. It lines up with this silver strip on this side. Taking that, pressing it firmly into place. 1/8 turn to lock it in. And then you can get that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 50 amp plug-in. Now, a lot of campsites may not have this, as well as your household. So we do include this 30 amp dog bone adapter. Keeping in mind, when you're going down to 30 amps of power, you can't run, if you're running the air conditioner, you can't run nothing big like the microwave or a coffee maker at the same time. You are gonna have to turn one thing off to use another thing. So just be mindful of that. Whenever you do plug it in, it's just showing you the two blue lights telling you you have a successful power source. If you were to have a red light in there, it's letting you know that the power source is bad. And then we also include a 15 amp park adapter to go down from 30. But if you are going to 15 amps, you're not going to run the air conditioner at all. It is just to run your fridge and your lights. That's about it. And located right here, you got your sewer cap. Take and twist, and that's how you get it off. Take a note of those ears there. It's the same ears your sewer hose had. They just line up on these guys like so and lock into place by twisting. You got your black valve and your gray valve, your gray valve and your black valve. You're always going to want to empty your black valve first. This is your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. And then you can come behind that with your gray valve, which is typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. And then if you notice straight up here, you got those valves. Those are your low point drains. So if you're wanting to drain all the water out of the lines because you don't want it to go stale or stagnant, that's where you're going to do so. You're also going to take note of this little inlet here. This is the black tank flush. So if you're noticing false monitor panel readings or just an odor, you can thread a garden hose in here. It's very important that you do have the sewer connected as well as the black tank open. Otherwise, you do run the risk of bursting your tank. And just flush it out, keeping things out a little bit cleaner. Get the exterior shower open. It's just the little silver 751 key, which should come included with your unit. Sticking it in the lock here and twisting it. You got hot and cold water. A little further up, you got your city water connection. So if you're at a site with service, you can thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all of those lines without the needing to run your water pump. Or you got your fresh tank fill, in which case you just thread a garden hose in there and that's going to fill that fresh tank. And that's what your water pump draws off of. And then right below the floor, you got another valve, and that is going to be for the fresh tank drain. And then inside here, it is some storage that goes right through to the other side. Located at the front of the unit inside this battery is your battery box. There's a 27 RV in there. And then right behind that is a battery disconnect switch. And with the battery disconnect switch in the on position like it is now, the batteries are connected to the unit. If you were to switch that to off, the batteries become disconnected. Two 20-pound propane tanks up front here. Just having to twist these, pull this out of place. And most of the time you get everything you need done just by doing that. But for the purpose of the video, I will just pull this cover right off. Gives you access to those two propane tanks. It's like any standard barbecue. Counterclockwise to open up the flow to the unit. Opening it up all the way. open up the full flow to the unit. You got your selector valve. So with the arrow pointed this way, you're gonna be drawing off this tank. If this tank were to go dry, you could just close this tank, switch it over to the other side, and run off that tank. Nice little feature. Tongue jack, one way up, the other way is down. There's also a little rubber cap on top. There's a manual override in there in case that were to ever fail. And then inside this compartment here, you got your weight distribution, which this customer opted for. And then you got your standard water hose, 15 amp park adapter. You got that tongue jack override, which I've already told you about, and hangs just on the wall here. And then there is that 3/4 inch manual drive tool for the stabilizer jacks. Now this is going to be the entrance to your bedroom. You got your stairs down below. You're just pulling those out. And they'll fold out of place. This is the service port for your hot water heater. Opening this guy up. So first thing I'm going to go over. This isn't like your traditional water heater because it's an on-demand system. If there is bypass valves on the back of this, do not touch them. You do have to make sure that you do run antifreeze through this guy. Once you're finished winterizing the whole unit, power switch right here. So when you are winterizing it, make sure it's off. I should have said that first. Once you're done winterizing the unit, just pulling this little brass plug out, allowing antifreeze to drip out as it expands when it gets colder, because antifreeze does gel up. Even though it's not supposed to freeze, it does gel. So you do run the risk of bursting those coils if you were to not open that and relieve the pressure. Sorry. Furnace, whenever it's running, it's going to be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. Same does go for the water heater. Whenever the water heater is running, it's going to be blowing out hot air, so just watch for that. Need a satellite outlet. You do have a little leash lash here for the animals if you have any. To get inside, taking that assist handle, pushing it up, folding it 90 degrees, it'll lock into place. That'll allow you to open up your door. You do have to open up the door all the way to get stairs out. Then you're just pulling that little safety latch and that'll unlock the stairs. Noticing on either side, you can adjust the feet to your stairs so you can have nice level stairs for your campsite rooms. Stepping on inside, off on your left is going to be that fire extinguisher, which is pretty much just like home. Put the pin and shoot. On the wall here is your main monitor panel. You also have a little light switch to turn on all the main living space lights. This little awning light button turns on the little light right below the awning. Then you got your water pump switch, and then of course your monitor panel system. It's showing you have a second black tank and a second gray tank, but you do only have one of each, so it's going to be black one and gray one. And that up top is the corresponding level it's at. Get the slider out, pushing and holding that button down and out. Once the slide is fully extended, you're going to hear the whines and the clicks of the motor. And before you ever go to run your slide out, always making sure you know what's on either side of the slide before you go to run it out. That way you don't run the risk of damaging anything. And there you go, you heard the clicking, so you know it's extended. Awning, same thing, pushing and holding that button down, the awning's going to start making its way out. Once fully extended, you're going to see the back of the metal tube and the little flap hang down. Whenever you're putting the awning out, always keeping an eye on the wind speeds. As they start to pick up, you're going to want to make sure you bring that guy in. That way you don't run the risk of bending your arms or ripping your fabric. About 5 km/h winds is when I'm saying you're going to get to worrisome levels. So you got that little flap, back of the metal tube, fully extended. Now if it were to start raining, you can take any arm, front or rear, pull down on it. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to then run off. Now if you do like that angle better because it allows for more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arm. Just always making sure you do push them back to straight before you bring the awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. And then to get it in, you're just hitting that retract button. The awning's going to slowly roll its way in. And once those arms contact the side of the trailer, you're in. In this area here, storage all around. Blinds in the unit all work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. So if you lift them up, they're going to stay up. And if you pull them down, they're going to stay down. This does fold out to a bed. Just as simple as pulling up on the foot of the couch and allowing it to fold back. Then to get it back into the couch, again, pulling your foot and also assisting the head. Pulling on the head, folds back down into a couch. Your dinette area, light on its own center push button. Again, blinds all work the same way. This is an emergency exit, as you can tell by the red handles on either side. So if you flip those handles up and push out, the window is going to pop out and you can hop on out. This does also turn into a bed. You're just having to remove the two legs from underneath the table, sit the top on those black ledges. Then you can take your back cushions to fill in the center. You have yourself, again, another bed. Into the entertainment center. Got your little TV mounted on the wall here. You're gonna notice up top, you got this little black button beside your cable satellite outlet. Pushing that button turns on the green light. With the green light on, it's letting you know that the antenna on the roof is on. So not only does that help for a few channels here in Manitoba, also helps through radio frequency. So I typically just leave them on, but it's all personal preference. Down here, you got your sound bar, which is typically just like home, minus the fact of having zone 1 and zone 2. Zone 1 will be your interior speakers, zone 2 is going to be your exterior speakers. And below that, you do have your fireplace. Power button on the far right. It's going to turn itself on. It is going to go to the last setting it was on, so that would be high. You got a timer, so you can go anywhere from 30 minutes to about 8 hours. 4 hours, 5 hours, sorry. And then you can change your lights just by pressing that button. And then, of course, you can change your temperature, so you can go between high. You can just have the fan running, no heat involved, with the lights on. Or you can go on low, which is low heat. Power button on the right to turn it off. Now into the kitchen area. Microwave, just like home, not much I'm going to show you there. You got your range hood. I always recommend running your range hood whenever you have your stove on, especially. It helps evacuate those propane fumes, and because this unit is equipped with propane, you do have to have an LP detector. It's right here near the ground. Propane's heavier than air. If this guy does ever start going off, don't panic. You're just getting to worrisome levels. So you're going to want to turn off the main supply of propane in the unit and open up some windows and some vents just to ventilate it out a little bit. You got your glass stove top, so flipping that back, of course being gentle with it. We've got some bubble wrap there just for the first trip. To get this to light, it is just as simple as pushing the knob in, turning it over to that little flame. Move that out of the way. So I did have the propane system running earlier, which is why it fired up so quickly. Typically, if the propane system's been off, it can take a few minutes to purge all the air out of the lines. So be patient with it, especially when it comes time to lighting the oven. Now, when you go to light the oven, you're just pulling this door down. You got your far right knob, turn it over, push it in. It'll go over to this little pilot option, push and hold it in. Sometimes you do have to do this for a few minutes, so don't panic if it doesn't fire up right away. Hit that igniter, and then you're gonna see you got that little pilot lit down here at the bottom. Once that pilot can hold its own when you're not holding the button down, you can turn it up to your desired temperature, and it does fire right on up. Little button on the right does do the oven light and the stove accent lights, or you can just run the accent lights. Whenever you're operating this glass top, just being mindful it's glass, so kind of be gentle with it if you can. Sink, hot, cold water, storage all around. Again, don't forget to run antifreeze through your water heater. Don't bypass it. And you got your fridge right over here. It is a 12-volt Furrion fridge, freezer. The controls for both are just this single knob here with it turned all the way clockwise. That's its coldest setting. All the way, and obviously anything before that is warmer setting. You're going to notice it does have an off-grid writing here, so that is the most energy efficient way to run on 12 volt. And then of course you have your charcoal filter to help with some of those fridge odors, and if you'd like to get some more of those, you can contact your parts department and they can put together a quote to get you some of those. On the wall here, you're going to have your thermostat. Push the button once, it's going to illuminate itself. Push the button a second time, you're going to go into fan low. So at this point, you're just moving air around with the air conditioner. There's no heating or cooling involved, and you're on a low fan. Push that button one more time, you get the fan high. So same thing, but on a high fan. One more time, you get to cool high. So now this is when the air conditioning does take into effect, and it's going to run full time on the high fan. regardless of what you set your room to. Same thing, but on a low fan. Now, when it says auto, it becomes an on-demand system. So when you set your set temperature for the room, once the thermostat senses that it's temperature, it's going to kick that air conditioner off. One more time on high fan, so of course, just the same thing, but on a high fan. And then one more time, we'll put you down into heat. So at that point, it is going to kick off the air conditioner and fire up the furnace. The furnace does move all its air through the floor portals you see we have throughout the unit. And whenever you do turn the furnace off, it's going to run for an extra 3 minutes just to allow itself to cool down as an added safety feature. And the air conditioner moves all its air through the ceiling ducting you see we have throughout the unit. And if you just take a step on inside this door for me, you come into here, which is your bathroom space. I forgot to turn the switch on for this. I will be right back, just so I can hit that. So you're turning that switch on. It does just supply 12-volt power to this guy here. Power button will turn it on. It's going to tell you what your current water temperature situation is. Pushing up or down will change the set temperature, and then you can change it between Fahrenheit and Celsius with the press of a button. And if you were to turn a tap on, it's going to show a little fan, and then it's going to show a flame letting you know that it's lit and it's moving water, and you should get hot water pretty quickly. Light switch here, power button to turn off the water heater in case you didn't want to use it. And if you notice right above my head, you do have a nice little vent with a fan built in. Now, if you notice, once you open up that roof vent, you are up straight into the atmosphere. So if it were to start raining, or if you're traveling, you run the risk of damaging your roof vent, and it also could get wet in here if it was raining, unless, of course, you went with a max air cover, which our parts department, again, can put together a quote for you. Max air cover just goes over top of this. That way you can leave that open whether you're traveling or it's raining. It's not going to get wet in here or cause any damage to the vent lid. Closing it all the way down again whenever you're done. Shower, hot and cold water. You get your toilet, sink, again, hot and cold water. Popping this guy open, you're going to notice you got a little panel here with 2 screws. Pop that guy off. That's going to give you access to your water pump for winterization. And right up top, if you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I'd check. It's your main GFI plug. Most of the plugs inside this unit are going to be hooked up to this GFI. Test on the bottom, reset in the middle. Again, you ever have an issue with a plug, it'd be the first place I'd look. And then into the bedroom. No light switch in the bedroom, just on their own center push buttons. Plug-in on one side, USB plug-ins on the other. The bed also does lift up, and you get a tiny little storage space right at the front here for whatever you'd like to put in there. Close that down, you got storage on either side. This is going to be a fire exit. To get that to work, pull this tab. This whole screen's going to pop out, and you can take your handle and push it on out and hop out of the unit. On the wall, you got a TV backer here. So if you want to mount a TV in the bedroom, this would be the place to do so. You also have a cable satellite outlet and a couple plugins. Last but not least, right down here on the ground, this is going to be where your breaker panel is. So you got your breakers. Whenever they trip, it's going to sit in the middle. So you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. Whenever you have a fuse trip, there'll be a little red indicator light letting you know which one's tripped. That's going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.